Beyond militarization and wall construction, the administration has rolled out a new strategy combining advanced technology, international cooperation, and economic programs to control illegal immigration. The biggest surprise is the U.S. securing agreements with Mexico and Central American countries, leading to a record drop in border crossings and a wave of migrants voluntarily returning home. Comment number 1, if you're genuinely interested in this issue. One of the most shocking developments is the trilateral cooperation agreement signed on March 15, 2025, between the U.S., Mexico, and Central American nations, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. According to Reuters, the agreement requires Mexico to strengthen its southern border controls and deploy 10,000 federal police to prevent migrants from reaching the U.S. border. In return, the U.S. pledged $2 billion for economic development programs in Central America, focusing on job creation and infrastructure improvements. The deal also includes a safe return program, encouraging migrants to voluntarily return home with $500 in financial assistance per person. The results of this agreement are remarkable. According to CBP, apprehensions of illegal border crossers in April 2025 dropped to 6,500, a 96% decrease from 137,473 in March 2024. In the Rio Grande Valley, crossings fell to 1,200, the lowest in 30 years. An ex-post by CBP on April 28, 2025 stated, "Thanks to international cooperation, the U.S.-Mexico border is safer than ever. Crossings are down 96% from last year." Moreover, about 15,000 migrants participated in the Safe Return program by April 2025, easing pressure on refugee camps in Mexico. Alongside international cooperation, the Trump administration has heavily invested in border surveillance technology. According to the New York Times, CBP deployed 200 smart towers along the border from California to Texas, equipped with infrared cameras, radar, and AI to detect movement from 5 miles away. These towers operate continuously, streaming data to CBP command centers. Additionally, 50 UAV drones with thermal sensors have been used to patrol rugged areas. The technology's effectiveness is evident in CBP data. In March 2025, the towers detected 85% of crossing attempts before migrants reached the fence, enabling rapid responses from patrol agents. The number of undetected crossers dropped 93%, from a 1-800 daily at the end of 2024 to 132 daily in March 2025. An ex-post by Border Patrol USA on April 20, 2025, emphasized, "New technology is a game changer. We see everything before they get close to the border." Unlike previous campaigns focused on militarization, the Trump administration in 2025 has used the military more strategically. According to military.com, approximately 8,000 troops, including 5,000 National Guard and 3,000 Army soldiers, have been deployed to support CBP. However, their roles are primarily logistical, providing transportation and operating surveillance technology rather than directly apprehending migrants. This approach avoids violating the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the military from engaging in civilian law enforcement. A notable move is the establishment of tech checkpoints instead of militarized defense zones. Positioned at hotspots like El Paso and San Diego, these checkpoints use radar and AI cameras to detect unusual activity, relaying information to CBP. According to DHS, these checkpoints reduced crossings by 90% in deployed areas. The cost of maintaining these checkpoints is estimated at $200 million from January to April 2025, significantly lower than the $376 million spent on earlier military operations. The new strategy has sparked political division in the U.S. According to the Pew Research Center, 65% of Republicans support the border control measures, while only 20% of Democrats agree. Organizations like the ACLU have filed lawsuits, arguing that surveillance technology infringes on the privacy of residents near the border. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the towers a step in the wrong direction, while Texas Governor Greg Abbott praised them as an effective solution. Internationally, the agreement with Mexico and Central America has been welcomed by many countries. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum emphasized that economic cooperation is the best way to reduce migration. However, human rights organizations warn that tighter controls in Mexico could push migrants onto more dangerous routes, increasing risks of violence. Despite its successes, the strategy faces challenges. First, the Safe Return program requires additional funding to support the large number of migrants, with an estimated $500 million needed for 2025. Second, the immigration court system is overwhelmed with a 3.6 million case backlog, slowing deportations for those ineligible to stay. Third, lawsuits from human rights groups could disrupt the deployment of surveillance towers. Looking ahead, the Trump administration plans to deploy an additional 100 surveillance towers and expand the Safe Return program to countries like Colombia and Venezuela. However, balancing security with humanitarian concerns will be a tough challenge, especially as international organizations call on the U.S. to ensure asylum rights. The turning point at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2025 is an unexpected shift, blending international cooperation, cutting-edge technology, and strategic military use. With a 96% reduction in crossings, the U.S. border is safer than ever. However, challenges around human rights, financial costs, and economic impacts demand a more balanced approach. As the U.S. continues to shape its immigration policy, the question remains whether this strategy can sustain long-term success or is merely a temporary fix for a complex issue. The U.S.-Mexico border is not just a geographic line but a testing ground for America's values of security, humanity, and international cooperation. This article has utilized reliable sources and perspectives from social media to provide a comprehensive view. For a deeper understanding, readers can refer to statements from DHS, CBP, or reports from Reuters, The Guardian, and WOLA.
With the help of a translator, we learned a little.
Nobody's ever seen before. It was ridiculous. I decided
When Donald Trump was sworn in as president on January 20, 2025, the U.S.-Mexico border saw immediate and dramatic changes. His administration wasted no time enacting a sweeping immigration crackdown, fulfilling a core campaign promise. As a result, illegal crossings into the U.S. dropped sharply, while thousands of migrants began crowding Mexico's border cities, creating a humanitarian challenge south of the border. This rapid shift, described as a blanket of migrants covering Mexico's frontier, underscores the profound impact of Trump's policies within weeks of his inauguration. The effects of Trump's crackdown were felt almost instantly. On his first day in office, he issued an executive order terminating the CBP One app, a Biden-era tool that allowed migrants to schedule asylum appointments at U.S. ports of entry. This move canceled existing appointments, stranding thousands who had waited months for their chance to enter legally. At the same time, Trump banned asylum requests between ports of entry, effectively sealing off one of the last pathways for migrants seeking protection in the U.S. by February 2025. Border Patrol reported just 8,500 apprehensions of illegal crossings, the lowest monthly total in over 25 years. This marked a 70% drop from January's 29,000, which itself was down from December 2024's 47,000 under Biden. Trump bolstered these measures with military might. He deployed 1,500 additional active duty troops to the border by late January, bringing the total military presence to over 4,000 when combined with existing National Guard forces. Their roles include building barriers, operating deportation flights, and supporting Border Patrol operations. Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks, a Trump appointee and former Texas border czar, told CBS News on February 20 that daily apprehensions had fallen to an average of 285, a 94% decline from the same period in 2024. Banks credited the administration's swift actions, noting that only 2 migrants had been released from custody since January 20, both as witnesses in criminal cases. While the U.S. border quieted, Mexico's border regions became a pressure cooker. Migrants who once aimed to cross into the U.S. now find themselves stuck, with shelters in cities like Tijuana, Ciudad Juarez, and Matamoros overflowing. Many lack the resources to return home or the legal options to stay safely in Mexico. The International Organization for Migration reported a surge in requests for voluntary return assistance, with 2,862 migrants seeking help in January and February 2025, more than triple the number from the same period last year. This spike reflects a growing despair among migrants, who face dwindling prospects of reaching the U.S. amid Trump's crackdown. In Ciudad Juarez, shelters that could house hundreds sat nearly empty in late February as migrants abandoned their northward journey. However, by early March, these same facilities were packed again as deportations from the U.S. increased and new arrivals piled up. Stories of families like that of Eduardo Medina, a Michoacan native who fled violence with his wife and 3 children, highlight the human toll. After 6 months, in a cramped Juarez shelter awaiting a CBP-1 appointment, their hopes were dashed when Trump scrapped the program. Now, they weigh whether to stay in Mexico or risk returning to danger. Trump's policies have also put Mexico in a tough spot. The administration revived the Remain in Mexico policy from Trump's first term, forcing non-Mexican asylum seekers to wait south of the border for U.S. court hearings. Mexico agreed to this arrangement on January 20, despite past criticism that it exposed migrants to crime in border cities. Additionally, Trump threatened a 25% tariff on Mexican goods if the country didn't curb migration and drug flows, prompting President Claudia Sheinbaum to bolster enforcement. Mexico's National Guard has intensified patrols, and deportations of non-Mexican migrants to southern Mexico have risen, with plans to bus a third more people away from the border in 2025 than in 2024. This pressure has led to a boom in asylum requests within Mexico. The country's refugee agency reported a 3- to 4-fold increase in applications since Trump's election, with up to 1,000 migrants daily seeking protection as of early March. Many are deportees or those blocked from the U.S. like Humberto Braiso, a Venezuelan stranded in Naucalpan de Jurize. Yet Mexico's asylum system, already strained, struggles to cope, and a 90-day freeze on U.S. humanitarian aid has forced nonprofits to cut services at a critical time. The immediate border changes have won praise from Trump supporters, who see them as restoring order after years of high illegal crossings under Biden. Republicans argue that closing legal pathways deters abuse of the asylum system. Critics, however, including the ACLU, call the measures illegal, citing violations of U.S. and international laws guaranteeing asylum rights. They've filed lawsuits challenging the CBP-1 shutdown and other policies. Humanitarian groups warn that the blanket of migrants in Mexico could fuel a crisis, with smuggling networks already adapting by offering riskier routes to desperate families. Trump's crackdown has also sparked diplomatic ripples. Colombia briefly barred U.S. deportation flights in late January, citing dignity concerns, though the issue was resolved. Meanwhile, Mexico braces for more deportees, building tent shelters in 9 border cities to house thousands. Inside, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention centers hit 117% capacity by early March, holding over 45,000 migrants, signaling logistical hurdles to Trump's mass deportation pledge. The border changes seen immediately under Trump have reshaped migration in mere weeks. Illegal crossings are at historic lows, a testament to the crackdown's short-term success. Yet, the growing mass of migrants blanketing Mexico's border suggests a deeper challenge looms. Whether this blanket becomes a temporary burden or a lasting scar depends on how both nations address the fallout. For now, the U.S. revels in a fortified frontier, while Mexico grapples with the human cost of a policy shift felt from day one.
Chinese citizens.
That was just day one. By Wednesday, there was more.
Filled with tents, people, and growing frustration. And he's got video of what he says are thugs sent to people. Forced to people living on the street. At the border points to a rise in housing costs.
American volunteers help out in the areas.
The opioid epidemic. Mental health issues
And an executive order which the White House said
hybrid crisis has factors
barriers closed. No migrants so far.
exacerbating the problem in LA.
He has also deployed thousands of troops to the border,
transiting through a dozen countries.
Officials have processed more than 10 times as many Chinese migrants as last year.
Chinese nationals
A surge with their hopes
are now the
And spin if someone tries to climb over them.
fastest growing.
troops deploying to the border, obstacles being built.
Большая часть людей отодвинулась на безопасное расстояние.
Thousands of
Все
asylum
они
seekers
кашляют.
flooded the city. In Phoenix, the city recently cleared a large encampment located downtown.
As an American man was driving near the U.S. means that he spotted a group attempting to climb over the wall.
Just spread them out.
Without hesitation, he took bold action to stop them. His daring move
People going through
underscores the growing tensions as more Americans call for stricter borders
us out a lot further. Everyone's dumpsters, dragging stuff out onto the streets.
Across LA, officials have tried
a group of migrants
to clear out encampments.
struggle through the rain and mud of the Panamanian jungle. US border. He videoed the whole
Entering the United
grueling trek undertaken by people from
States in 2020.
all over the world, including recently
And why they
a record number from China.
a group of these Chinese migrants
Since January, border officials
And Mexico is now setting up
across South.
They extend at least a foot underwater, with no netting beneath them for now, officials say.